Hey, this is Betty Smith with Sauter County Daily News. We're here at Sauter County Fairgrounds. I got tongue-tied on that earlier. And I have the opportunity to speak with Joey Sandlin while we're here today. And we're going to talk about his current election coming up.
Yes, yes.
So, Joey, we'll take the show.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Joey Sandlin. I'm running for the 5th Ward City Council in Portsmouth, Ohio, and just really, prayed about it. Watched the council meetings online on Facebook, and, for about a year, and saw everything that was going on, and just decided that I wanted to get involved to help, as you guys say, make Portsmouth a better place.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And then I just want to let folks know, you do see the RE/MAX signs behind us. We scheduled this ahead of time, and Joey was already set up with the RE/MAX stuff, but I think everybody already knows. You're like one of the top dog salesmen in Portsmouth.
Yeah, I'm broker and owner of RE/MAX Right Choice here in Portsmouth, and I have my office in Portsmouth, and I bought my home in Portsmouth in the 5th Ward, and my oldest daughter just bought her home right across the street from me in the 5th Ward. So we are very committed to the city of Portsmouth.
Yes, it does sound like that. Very invested.
Yes, very, very, very invested. Yes.
So what I guess I want to kind of ask is, right now you technically don't have no opponent running against you.
Right.
Previously was Mantell was in there, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
I think Edwin Martell. Yeah.
Martell, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's okay.
We'll get names right.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Edwin.
It's okay.
But with that being said, so you've taken the initiative, you're stepping up. How has it felt so far to get out into the community and speaking with those folks?
So far, I've received a really good reception. Just sharing my ideas with the people in our ward about some of the things that I saw that kind of prompted me to run, to get involved, and without sounding negative to the existing council members, I just felt like that maybe we needed a different change of direction and more focus on certain things, and so that's why I got involved, was to try to, if the Lord blesses me to win and get in there, to be able to add input, and like I said, I think stay focused on some pretty important things.
This is one thing I did ask Gary, and I asked Andy, but I'm going to ask you this because you're already very much a business person in this area. So I guess I kind of take that as a word of authority too, a little bit. What do you see that you could maybe do different or add to to bring in new business to Portsmouth?
Well, I think that in order to draw new business as a city council, we can offer several things. Number one, we need to be business friendly, and we need to come across as being friendly to businesses in the community. And a whole lot of things, I think that maybe enough thought wasn't put through when they first offered some of the things that they tried to pass in the last few years. I know they did a proclamation where they was trying to make the city of Portsmouth friendly to or decriminalize marijuana, and it's not even about whether you're for or against that, but you have to ask yourself the question, is that creating an image that is going to be business friendly or conducive to drawing business? Just let me give you an example.
Yes.
Up 23 North, there in Circleville, there's a business called Sofadel, and Sofadel is a paper product.
Oh yeah,
company.
yeah.
And they tell me, I don't know if it's still this way or not, but the last I heard, they tell me that if you are able to pass a drug test, if you can pass a drug test, they will hire you on the spot because they are in so desperate need of good employees.
Yes.
Employees that can pass the drug test. And the nature of the factory, dealing with big rolls of paper and cutting machines and all that.
That's about an hour from here too, correct?
Yeah. They have to have people that are drug free. And so when they're looking, just say for example that if they needed a distribution, Portsmouth, the city of Portsmouth has a lot of large buildings that are empty.
Yes.
And so they say, just say for that if they was looking for a warehouse, and they started looking in our city, when they started investigating what our city council was like and what our community's like, what our culture's like, if they see a proclamation trying to decriminalize drugs in Portsmouth, when we already have a label anyway, a negative label in that subject, then that's not business friendly. That's not conducive to drawing that business. And so other businesses would see it that way as well. And the city council members spent several meetings back and forth whether or not they wanted to pass that proclamation or working their way through that. And my thought was that it was just a colossal waste of time to give us even more negative image. And I'm not here to discuss whether I'm for or against it. It really doesn't matter. I'm looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, how does it produce an image? If we're going to build businesses in the city of Portsmouth, if we're going to draw a greater tax structure that would help several of the problems that we're having. You know, one of the other things that's going on right now is the discussion about the vacant buildings or crumbling buildings, dilapidated buildings. And there's talk right now of doing, a fee or a fine. They called it a tax, and now they're talking about a fine. And again, none of that is conducive to drawing business. I'm in real estate. I'm involved in real estate. Very familiar with the way investors look at areas when they go to invest, say, in rentals or commercial
Airbnb.
Yeah, Airbnb or commercial buildings and so forth. And if there's heavy tax or heavy restrictions on a property, then they're going to look at it. They're going to look someplace else that doesn't have those fines.
So I'm going to ask him this, and this is just me asking, and because if I was watching this, and I would probably ask this question. So if I'm a person and I was looking at business, and I agree with you on a lot of this, being in the business set of mine, that's a nice way of putting it. I get what you're saying, because like I just mentioned, Airbnbs or some of the buildings, is there a friendlier approach that they can come at these business owners versus taxing them or fining them? Because we don't want to have the belief, and I don't want to jump over into taxes because I just saw this on our page not too long ago when it was asking about property taxes. But is there this belief that we can come at a friendly approach instead of saying, oh, they just don't want to do it?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. We can offer incentives and quasi-government private business opportunities to do pop-up businesses inside of the larger building and offer tax incentives or help them with grant writing or whatever we could do in that way to try and be business friendly. Rather than fining them or taxing them for having a vacant building, why don't we sit down with them and talk and figure out how we can get something in that building and work together, not punishing them for having a vacant building, nor trying to take their building away from them, which has been a question that has come up in my mind, but rather let's work with, hand in hand, government, private business partnership to say, how can the city help you? The city has a income tax, the city has property tax, the city has all kinds of things that we can offer up as incentives and say, if especially if it's a larger business that's going to employ more people, we could say, how about a tax abatement, or how about a tax credit or a tax cut? Instead of penalizing, why not reward them? Instead of penalizing them for being in Portsmouth, why not reward them for coming to Portsmouth?
And bringing that business
and bringing that business and building that or opening up that shop or that
because
restaurant.
I know we want bigger businesses to come here, but I'm also for the small business person as well.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of, outside of COVID, and I'm sorry to bring that up, but outside of COVID, I think that there is revenue in this town, and I see it, our inner town people are putting it outward, but we have people coming in, like the Roy Rogers Festival that just came in. We had people come in from all over supporting this town. The racetrack had people come in from all over supporting this town. I see those things as a citizen of Scioto County.
As a reporter.
And I'm like, I want to give those folks merit, but I also want to feel that me living in this county, I want to believe that we haven't moved either.
Okay, we're back.
Sorry about that, guys. We're back.
We're back.
We're basically talking about bringing business into Scioto County, and I don't know where we left off on that.
Particularly into Portsmouth. And we were talking about, rather than penalizing the businesses that are here because they're struggling. I'm admittedly a Republican, but I'm going to quote President Bill Clinton here. One of the big campaign slogans that he had was, "It's the economy, stupid." And I know that's a little harsh or whatever, but he said it, I didn't. I'm just quoting him.
Right.
But it really is the economy. If we are able to draw and build and increase our infrastructure, and I haven't got to that yet, and able to increase our businesses, then the vacant building problem, if you go to Gatlinburg, there are thousands of buildings everywhere, and none of them are vacant.
Right.
And they're waiting list, people waiting and paying, extra to get into it because the business is there.
Right.
And when we bring the business back to our great city of Portsmouth as the comeback city,
and
then we will fill the vacancy. The vacancy problem, the dilapidated buildings and people purposely letting their buildings fall in or whatever. We already have building codes in our city charter that are extremely strong. For example, if you own a house in Portsmouth, according to the city charter, if you have windows in that house that when they were originally put in, they were made to open.
Yes.
They have to open now.
Wow.
That's a building code.
Yeah.
And if it does open, I won't say crazy. We're back. We already have super strong building codes. We're not enforcing the laws or ordinances or codes that's already on the books. So why in the world do we think that another fine, just simply because they've got a vacant building, is going to change anything? We don't have the enforcement mechanism. We don't have the tracking mechanism, or the, with the people to make sure that, what I'm saying, that, who's to say that has it been vacant 90 days or 6 months or a year, and who's watching it?
Right.
And who's going to have that job?
Yeah.
And who's going to pay for that job? If we would just take the building codes that are already there and enforce them evenly to every person. Okay.
So I'm going to be the fair person here to say, because I have one more question to ask you, because I know we're going into this. Who can give them that knowledge? So say if they're a recent resident into Portsmouth or Sauter County, where would they go get that information?
They can go to the City of Portsmouth website.
Okay.
And the city charter is there.
Okay.
And all of the ordinances and all of the laws for our city is already online.
Because he's already given us some, so I know you got the book of knowledge.
I was only using him for an example, and I'm not even suggesting that we enforce that everybody's windows have to raise. I was just using them for an example to say we've got some pretty stringent laws or ordinances already on the books that we're not even coming close to, to enforcing. And so why in the world do we think that another law or another ordinance, a fine, is going to do anything? The answer is bringing demand. We've got to bring demand through increasing business. And increasing business comes through incentives, not through fining or, punishment. All that's going to do is cause what little bit of base we have to look for an exit to find someplace else to go, and we're going to further see deterioration of our fair city. I don't want to see that. That's why I'm here.
And you're part of it. You live here.
Yeah, I'm broker and owner of Remax. I pastor a church. I have a family of 5.
So you work with all the community on one end or the other. You're working with them.
And I'm very, very busy. So I wasn't looking for something to do when this come along. But it's very, very important to me because I've made Portsmouth my home.
Yes.
I live in Portsmouth. My family lives in Portsmouth. My daughter just moved from Dallas, Texas to Portsmouth, moved across the street from me. My business is invested. I want to see it come back. I want to see some of the positive things that we're seeing in certain sectors of the city go all throughout the city. To me, the East End is just as important as the 2nd Street, Market Street development, and of course the 5th Ward is that's where I live. That's
where you're right.
Very important to me.
So probably 3 things left to ask, and I'm going to kind of conjumble this together for you guys, but then that way Joey can handle it how he wants. One is just being able to work across with other folks in city council. Do you feel that's a good possibility?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't come to just be a contrarian. I'm not running to just be a contrarian, but I am running to give a different perspective, like maybe on, like the example that I give on the decriminalization, of, you know what I'm saying, that there's a, wait a minute, there's a bigger picture here. Have we thought about what this is doing to our image as a city?
Right,
you know,
in whole.
Yeah, a whole. And me being a businessman, you know, when you look at the makeup of the city council, and all of them are very, very important jobs, and they're all professionals, and they're very fine people, all of them are. But I bring business experience. I bring to the table,
and because you've been here and you've done it,
the way a business, the way a business looks at it. You know, as soon as I heard the vacancy fine or tax, immediately I thought, oh no, people that would invest maybe in some of these houses that are dilapidated and falling in to turn them into rentals will not now because of the fine.
It could deter them. That little line could deter them.
Yeah, and I think of it from a business business standpoint, and so.
And you know we have those mugs all over town.
Yes.
How can I make Scioto County better today? So that being said to you, and I know it's Portsmouth in general because you're running for the 5th Ward, but speaking in general, how could you make Scioto County better today?
Well, I believe that there's a large cultural divide and change that needs to take place in Scioto County and Portsmouth, and that is people who feel like that they have to be, that somebody has to give them something or a handout or and people who say, okay, I can do anything I want to do or be anything I want to be. All I've got to do is roll up my sleeves and go to work.
Right.
And so I think helping change that culture of, you know, because I come from, my dad had menial jobs. My mom also worked. She worked piecework in a dry cleaners. I grew up in a very, it would be considered, I guess, a poverty home. But my mom and dad was always there, and they always worked. And my father taught me. My father had an 8th grade education, and he taught me. He said, Joey, don't do like I've done. Get yourself an education and work hard, and you can have or be anything you want to be. And we need that imparted so badly to our community to say, we are not victims. We are in control of our own destinies.
Yes.
We can educate ourselves, we can work hard, and we can dream big, and we can build anything that we want to build and have anything we want to have right here in Scioto County. So changing that culture where everybody jumps in and says, let's make it better together, because we've got a working culture mindset rather than I can't help myself or nobody else. I need somebody to give me something. To me, that's a huge, huge thing.
Right.
Not that we don't help the downtrodden.
Exactly.
You know, I had leukemia when I was 19. Had a bone marrow transplant at the James Center, and was on disability Social Security for 7 years. So I know what it is to be flat on your back. I know what it is to be disabled. I know what it is to need help. And I thank God I had it when I had it.
Right.
But I took that time, and I was a part of the first graduating class of Shawnee State with a bachelor's degree. I graduated in 1992 from Shawnee State, and I was disabled, and they told me the only thing I could do was possibly go to school. So I went to school to get my degree, and so I'm an alumnus of Shawnee State University. I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity that I had for that. But my father taught me early on, Joe, you're not a victim. You're only a victim if you allow yourself to be. And so, I've had bad things happen, been flat on my back. I know what it is, but I also know that you can work your way out of anything, and you really can be. And Portsmouth, that's why when I don't see the fatalistic view that everybody has of Portsmouth. I see it as opportunity. We have Shawnee Forest, and we have so many wonderful natural resources. We have some of the most beautiful places in the world. Right here in our backyard.
And it is coming back.
And it is coming back, yes. And I really am, I believe in the comeback city. I want to see it come back. I want to see it come back to even greater than what it was in the 1930s.
I apologize because we did take this fairly long interview today, but with that being said, I knew it was going to be a pleasure to sit down and talk with him. He has a lot of knowledge, and so even to get that out there to folks, I appreciate that so much. Last but least, I'm gonna before I sign out, is there any last thing that you may want to tell the voters, or anything to look forward to on this election trail? Or
yes, well, of course, if you live in the 5th Ward, I'm going to be coming and seeing you. I'm going door to door, and I'm going to personally ask you for your support and vote. I know this is an off election, and turnout is going to be vital. And so if November 2nd, go ahead and mark it on your calendar. We need you to get out and vote. No matter what ward you live in Portsmouth or Sauter County, go make your voice be heard. Don't be discouraged about voting. It's a freedom that we've been given as Americans that we all need to take part in. And so please make sure you get out and let your voice be heard November 2nd, no matter which way you're voting. But especially if you're supporting me, please do.
That's good.
But also, I see the situations in the city. I've tried to capsulize, what's going on in the city of Portsmouth, and I see it in 5 major areas. And number one is infrastructure. We haven't talked anything about it at all, but we need to, remember I told you that I feel like that my job, possibly if I'm able to, the Lord blesses me with this position, is to get on there and help them to focus. Ronald Reagan quote he said so many politicians or so many people in bureaucrats in government, he said they know so little about so many different things. We don't need to know so many different things, and the city council doesn't need to do so many different things all over the place with all kinds of different things. We need to focus on what our job is as city council members of Portsmouth, which infrastructure, roads, water, sewage, and then secondly, we need safety. And safety comes by, there've been a lot of animosity of late between city council, city manager Sam Sutherland, and our Portsmouth Police Department.
Right.
And there's a lot of debate over a tactical vehicle and all that, and I didn't feel like that they would support there like it needed to be. I think we need to completely support our city manager, Sam Sutherland, and we especially need to support our police department.
Yes.
And that means, giving them whatever, they're the professional.
Right.
And so whatever they say they need, because if you don't have safety in the city, you don't have anything.
Right.
And so we have infrastructure, we have safety. Thirdly, we've already talked about the vacancy thing. Well,
yes.
I don't need to talk about that anymore. Fourthly, we have beautification. We need to tackle the grass problem and the trash problem. There needs to be more effort put into that. We need to sit down and say, okay, I understand we only have 2 crews on our city department or whatever. Do we need to increase with another crew, or do we need to bring in private industry as subcontractors? What do we need to do to get the job done? So there's beautification and that, and then finally future development.
Okay.
And as I listed them, to me, they're most important. The first was infrastructure, safety.
And you went down the line.
Yeah, I went down the list. So the last would be the development. I thank God for the riverfront development that they're talking about in the master plan.
Yes.
And I thank God for the, they're talking about a pavilion on Market Street and riverfront development and all of that. But I see it this way. I'm a realtor, so I do everything like houses. If you've got a house and the roof is leaking so badly that it's destroying your house, you don't put a pool in.
Right. You're going to fix the roof.
You take care of the roof first. And so the infrastructure, the safety, the dilapidated buildings, all of that, in my mind, should come more focused energy, focused on those problems before we get to skate parks and riverfront development and Market Street pavilions. And I'm not against any of those things. I'm thankful for the development. I'm just simply saying we need to prioritize our energy and our effort, and we definitely need to quit involving ourselves in things that don't do anything for the city, such as the proclamation for the marijuana and other things that they've talked about over the last year.
Right.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I know I'm long. I apologize.
That's okay. You will get to see this also on Joey's page as well. But as always, all of us here from Sauter County Daily News, this is Betty Smith, and we're going to sign out here at Sauter County Fair, and I will be back shortly with another interview.